Hi, Flosstube. Happy November. For some reason, my brain, it doesn't feel like November. I have to keep going, what month is it again? It's November. It's been 5 days in, right? Maybe a few more days and it will start to feel like November. I don't know. We had a cold snap last week. Oh, I think Tuesday night it got down to 8 degrees, 8 or 9, which is a record in our area. That we had several days last week that were a record low. It felt like January, not October. Those poor trick-or-treaters Halloween night were freezing. This week we're back into the upper 50s, almost 60 for a high during the day, and in the 30s at night, which is quite normal for this time of year. So we are very much appreciating the warm weather this week compared to what we had last week. Man, we had snow. Oh, the week right before that, we had snow on the ground. So that is not usual for October. But nice, beautiful, sunny fall day today out there. It's gorgeous. Welcome. This is a channel about cross stitch. Pretty much that's all we talk about. Oh, and I need to give you an update on my little wee village outside. On my next video, I'll go out and show you what it's looking like before I clean it up for the fall. I need to get my fall yard work done. Housekeeping. I forgot a couple of things last time. One of the things I got when I was talking about the Stitch West, I forgot I had this up in my stitching tools bag instead of in with my haul. Lorinda and Jordan Johnson gave us all one of these at Stitch West. I love it. I think it's going to be my January scissor fob. I think this one's going to go. I love to change. I always use the same scissors, but I love to change the fob out on them every month. I'm thinking this is going to go for January. Thank you. It is beautiful. And I forgot that I got some Stitchy kindness in the mail. Becca at My Stitchy Home asked me if I'd be interested in this magazine that she found that has a stocking on the cover. And I said, yes, I'd love to put that in my stash. Look how cute that is. It's like the kitchen at Santa's house, or someone who just really loves winter Christmas clothes. Shelves with lots of Christmas things on them. So cute. It's the Cross Stitch Sampler magazine, Christmas 1992. Very cute. Thank you, Becca. I love that. And I'm going to do haul right now, just so I don't forget. I'll show you a pattern that I kitted up. That was part of my haul and started, but I'll show you that. But as far as just haul, I ordered 20 of these keyring that screw together off of Amazon, because I love those. I would rather use one of these instead of this for my baggies of floss for a project. These sometimes pop open, and it's hard to get the bags to move around past the hinge, and sometimes they'll get caught on the opening part. I just love these. Once you screw that shut, it is not coming open until you open it yourself. I love the colors. I love that it's kind of flexible. So I'm going to order some of these so I could start using these instead of these. All right. I had a finish, which you may have already seen on Instagram. This is Autumn Garden by Drawn Thread. Let's see if I can hold it up here folded. It's very narrow and wide, not very tall, but very wide. It was a Mania start in May. That's Stitch Mania. I started 19 new projects in May. I can't see what I'm doing, so hopefully you saw that. And 11 of the 19 new starts I had in May had a monthly assignment, and this was assigned to October. I knew that I was going to pick it up again in October and try and finish it in October, and I did. I finished it on Halloween. So barely squeaked it in, end of October. Was doing this with us as a stitch along with Brian at his YouTube channel is Blitzstitch, Blitstitch. He started with Winter Garden. His is gorgeous. He's finished his a couple months ago. I'd eventually like to do all 4 seasons and kind of do a Priscilla and Chelsea finish where I mount them to foam board with magnets on the back and then find something cute at Hobby Lobby that I could stick it to and change out the seasons but so far this is the only one I have done. There are several mistakes in here as I was doing the greenery, because you either have to do the greenery first or the flowers first on all of these flower sections. Well, if you do the greenery first, then you have to make sure you're jumping blank space where the flowers are going to be, and you could miscount. But if you do the flowers first, then you'd have to skip a whole bunch of space where the greenery is to put the flower in. You might make a mistake that way. You really probably ought to do it like both at the same time, like do a little bit of greenery and then put the flower in and then a little more greenery. But I was too lazy to do that. So I'm just putting in all the greenery thinking, oh yeah, I counted right. And then I'd go to put the flowers in and realize that I had not counted right. But there wasn't anything that was like the flower wasn't going to fit or that caused a huge problem. So I just left it all the way it was. But I don't think you would ever know unless you were actually comparing it to the pattern. So I feel fine about it. Just wanted to let you know that no, it's not perfect, and that is okay. It's okay with me. It looks just fine to me. WIPs. Let's look at WIPs. This is the stocking I'm doing for my daughter-in-law, Lauren. I have finished all the cross stitching down to here. Now I'm trying to finish all the back stitching right. The back stitching is already done over here. I just need to finish the back stitching right here. The whole top that has her name is finished. As soon as I'm just working right here on this feather tree. It's turning out so cute. And then I'll keep moving down to get all this back stitching done. There's handbells sitting on the piano, a little candle in a like a pewter or a metal candle holder with the reflector behind the flame. But when I get all the back stitching done down to here over the next couple days, then I will move the Q-snaps and work on the bottom half of the stocking. I'm so excited to move down. This was my Tuesday project, but the closer we get to Christmas, because I really wanted to have it done. In fact, in my head, I was thinking, oh, you should have this done by Thanksgiving. And then that would give you time to get that one in Hannah's stocking sewed fully finished so they could use them in December. I don't think this is going to get finished by Thanksgiving, but I'm still hoping for, mid-December finish with this. So I have been working on it, trying to work on it maybe an hour every day. If I have several hours to stitch, I'll work on this one for an hour. I have had lots of days over the last few weeks where I haven't had any stitching, or only like half an hour's worth of stitching, just because there's so many other things going on. But I'm trying to work on this every day to get it done. I love it. It's cute. It's the Music Room. It's the Heirloom Stocking series. Let's find the front cover. Here we go. And it is the Music Room one of that series. It was originally in Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazines, this series, back in the 80s and 90s. It was then reprinted into a book, which has gone out of print twice. You can now also get these patterns on the Cooler Design Studio website, Kooler, and you can just buy them one at a time. There are 9 stockings in the series. I made one for all of my children and my husband and I back in the 90s. If you would like to see my children showing those, then go back to my Thanksgiving video from last year. Except for Andrew's, whose was lost, which we have now found. We were kidding the other day about maybe doing another video on Thanksgiving Day this year where everyone shows their stockings again, and Andrew could show his that we finally found. And then Hannah and Lauren could show theirs. And then my two daughter-in-laws, Hannah and Lauren, asked last year when we made that video, asked if I would make them one to match their husbands. So I said, yes, I would. And then since then, Hannah and Lauren have learned how to cross stitch. So hopefully if they want to do them for their children, I told them they don't feel like they have to. You don't have to use these stockings. You can do something new for your family. But if you want to do some for your children, now you cross stitch and you can make them for your kids. Never fails. As soon as I start videoing, my nose starts to run. At Stitch West, I started a new... oh, this is not that one. Sorry. Rewind. This is also a Mania start from May. Oh, I meant to say, if you're interested in Stitch Mania, M-A-Y-N-I-A, and you don't know what we're all talking about, you can go to the Facebook group called Stitch Mania, M-A-Y-N-I-A. There's a little bit more information there. It's basically just a big celebration in May to start a whole bunch of new things, and everyone does it different. There's no set rules. I liked to start 19 things in the year 2019, although 5 of them were WIPs, so really I only started 14 new things. I always do 5 WIPs. This was a new start in May, Prairie Schooler, Harvest Time. I'm just doing this one up here. I have admired that. So many stitchers have stitched this, and every time I see it, I love it, and finally got around to doing it myself. So I started it in May, haven't worked on it since. This is the piece that was assigned to November, because I knew I wanted to work on it during November. I love working on something seasonal during the month of that season. So I pulled it after I finished Autumn Garden, then I pulled this one out. This is that seasonal piece that I choose to work on for that month is usually my Monday, Wednesday, Friday project. So this is how far I am. This is on 40 count Prairie Silkweaver Grassy Plain. 40 count Grassy Plain. I thought the green would be a fun color behind all of these fall colors that it has in it. Using the called for DMC, 1 strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. This was the one I started at Stitch West. It is Praiseworthy Stitches. I had to make a note because I already made a mistake. So I had to write it down on a piece of paper so I wouldn't forget next time I work on it. This is Praiseworthy Stitches, Bumpin' Tonight Farm. I love this. I bought this at the Craft Center of Fine Stitchery on the day of the retreat where we visited the Craft Center of Fine Stitchery in Salt Lake City. That's my LNS. They happened to have it. I bought it. I kitted it up while I was there and started it right at the retreat. That was so fun. Putting a note of the mistake I made and how I'm compensating for it back in here so that I don't forget, because I'll probably put this away now and probably won't pick it up again until next fall. And I will tell you what I did. So this is where I am so far, working up in that top, let's see, it would be your top left corner of the barn. I started with these 2 cute little trick-or-treaters right here because they're right in the middle. I started with them. I moved up to the wagon and then up, and that got me up to the barn. This is 40 count. On the tip of my toe, oh, it's right here. Silkweaver Creekstone fabric. And I realized when I was over here working on the tree that this is the door to the barn with this little cat that this door is 1 row too high, which means that this whole barn is 1 row too high. So these windows that are supposed to be on the same level, one's lower and one's higher, because on this one I worked up this way, and then on this one I came down from the top. So I know how I'm going to fix it. The whole barn's just going to be 1 row too high. It won't matter. There's some words above it in the sky that I'll have to just make sure that as those words come across, I don't count off those words to start the house, because the house needs to be counted up from the bottom. So the only problem will be that this barn will be 1 row too high, which doesn't matter because it's just lots of objects around that don't touch each other. So it'll be fine as long as I remember that the barn is 1 row too high. Don't you hate that when you make a mistake that you have to remember forever so you don't count off of the mistake? But I decided it wasn't worth ripping it all out, because really it won't matter. It just means the barn will be 1 row higher, but it won't matter. This is Maisons et Nichoirs. I'll show it to you because I do not speak French. By Mon Pierre. This is what it looks like on tan fabric. This is what it would look like on a blue fabric, and that's the name of it. And it's by, where's the name? Oh, right here. Mon Pierre. From France. And good news, I told you on my last video that the lady who runs Stitchery Express, X-Press, she has a Facebook page where she does business. She also has a website, but her website only lists a small percentage of her inventory. She owns a warehouse in Utah, Clearfield. And last week, our last video, I called her Kathy. Her name is not Kathy, it's Cindy. Cindy Sorley, I believe, of Stitchery Express, X-Press. She was at Stitch Rest Retreat. We talked to her about lots of people were interested in this pattern but couldn't find it anywhere, and she said she could order it from France. So if you are interested in purchasing this pattern, contact Cindy at Stitchery Express and tell her you would like one. She said she could order them from France. It would take a couple weeks for them to get here, but she's pretty sure they are still available in France and that she could get them. So good news, you can get the pattern. This is kind of my 30-minute challenge piece every day. I know the stocking is every day too. My rotation is getting out of control, but this was the original 30-minute everyday piece because it's straight cross stitch, lots of big blocks of just one solid color, which kind of gets tedious after an hour or two. So it's a great one to do just 30 minutes every day, 30 minutes at least or more. I also take this one with me. Like last night, I was at an event down at BYU where I knew I was going to have about an hour of just kind of hanging around waiting. So I took this one with me because it's easy to work on away from home. But this is where it's getting to. I'm so excited. It's close. There's only one more house. I can't remember last time if I had this birdhouse finished last time I showed it to you, and I keep forgetting to put this poor bird's beak on. He should have a beak like all these other ones do. I just keep forgetting to put it on. It's just one little stitch of that color. And then I've been working on the roof of this checkerboard house. There's one more birdhouse up here, and then I get to start on that last house over there. Loving this one. It's been a lot of fun to work on. Oh, it is on 40 count pear. I believe that's a lakeside linen, 40 count pear. This is a pear can be on the green side or the tan side, just depending on the dye lot. This one is a very tan, with just a slight cast of green in it. Using the called for Gentle Arts threads, 1 strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. A Bump into Night was also the called for Gentle Arts floss, same thing, 1 strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. And Harvest Time I think can't remember if I told you. I know I told you what fabric it was on, but it's also, sorry, I have all these notifications coming up on my phone. It must be 4:50. For some reason, every day at 4:50, my phone reminds me of everything that's on my work calendar for tomorrow. Harvest time is the called for DMC. 1 strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. Okay, this is my new start that I started on Saturday. What was that, November 2nd? Rika of House of Stitch and Stash was working on Halloween one. She was working, Praiseworthy Stitches. She is working on Widow B&B. And I love her. She's also working on this one, Churchyard Christmas. Praiseworthy Stitches. That has a little nativity right in the middle. I love it. She's working on this one and Widow B&B. And I saw those at the retreat. Fell in love with them. That was one of the reasons why I started bumping the night at the retreat, because I just love the style of these Praiseworthy ones, these big ones that are just a whole scene with houses. I just think they're so pretty. And then I just needed to do Churchyard Christmas. I love nativities. I kind of collect nativity cross stitch patterns and I collect nativities as well. So on November 2nd, I do not have room in my rotation at all. I don't know how much time this is going to get during the holiday season, but I couldn't stand it. I had to start it. I kitted it up the week after Stitch West. But it is on the called for Picture This Plus Mirage. Yes, Picture This Plus 32 count Mirage fabric. Rika is doing hers. I believe both of them are on the called for 32 count fabric. And I kind of I do a lot of stuff on 40 count fabric because I love working with one strand. It lays nicely. I can go really fast. But every once in a while I miss the look and feel of 32 count fabric with 2 strands of floss. It's got a different texture, a little chunkier texture to it. And I thought it would be fun to do this one on 32 count. So this is the called for fabric with the called for Gentle Arcs and Weeks Dye Works threads. The other Praiseworthy Stitches I think I said was Gentle Arts, and it's also a mixture of Gentle Arts and Weeks Dye Works. Bump into night. But that's how far I got. Loving the fabric, loving the threads. When I stitch with 2 strands of floss, I go back and forth whether I should railroad or not. I mean, I stitched for 20 years without even knowing there was such a thing as railroading or laying with a laying tool. And I thought my stitching looked fine. And now when I stitch, I can tell the difference when I railroad and when I don't. It kind of depends on the piece as to whether I care or not, because I can stitch a lot faster if I'm not railroading. Railroading is where I don't railroad on the first part of the X. It's only when I'm coming back and I do that top part of the X. You put your needle, as you're going back down from the top back down to the back, you put your needle between the 2 strands of thread so that as it pulls through, it kind of lays those 2 threads next to each other so they're not all twisted up. So on this piece, I am going to railroad because I would like it to look nice. It shows up a lot more when you have big blocks of one color. So it would show up if the threads were all messy. But I don't always railroad. Like I said, it just depends on the project. If I'm doing a very expensive project, a class piece that was very expensive and has lots of specialty stitches in it, then I do use a laying tool, especially if it's satin stitch or a specialty stitch where that's really shows up. And it was an expensive project with a class that also costs money to go to, so I kind of feel like I should take the time to make sure that those expensive fancy flosses are laying straight and that it looks good. But like I said, a lot of times I'm working on a piece and I don't care. Because really sometimes I look at it and I just go, I can't even really tell whether I was doing this, like ones where I don't railroad, I can't even tell. I don't look at it and go, well, that looks messy. If I really get down there with a magnifying glass, I can tell, but I go back and forth on whether I care about that or not. I'm not sure if I've done any more on Band of Roses since last time I showed it to you. This is by Cross Stitch Antiques, and it's called Band of Roses 1845 antique sampler. This is what it looks like. I'm doing this as a stitch along with Linda in California. From now till the end of the year, my schedule's really tight on stitching because there's so many things I wanted to have done by the end of the year. So this won't get a lot of work, but it will get a little bit. And I can't remember if this is where it was last time I showed you. And last time I pulled it out to work on it, I realized that this eye has here. I was looking at it going, what is with that eye? I see how it kind of steps down like stairs right here. I actually added like a couple of extra stairs, not paying attention, you know, glancing back at the pattern, not realizing what I was doing. So I'm going to have to rip out this eye and fix it. It's way bigger than it should be because it has some extra stairs in there that shouldn't be there. So I need to fix that. But I love this project. I'm using the DMC on this project, except for all of this dark blue at the top. The DMC color, which I believe is 823 that it calls for, was just not covering very well. I could see a lot of the fabric showing through. So I switched over to a silk, an Avera Soie silk that's almost the exact same color. It's 1416 or 1415, I can't remember all of a sudden. And I'm liking it a lot better. It's covering very well. And since the whole top, like 2/3 of the sampler is that dark blue, I thought it was worth it. It is 1416. Avera Soie 1416. But the rest of it, when we get down to the bottom, it will be in the DMC. This is on 40 count. Maritime White Linen by Lakeside. 1 strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. All right, Victorian Charm is my Saturday project. Try to work on it on Saturdays. Still working on the front door section. Worked some more on, I think this whole week I've been working on, it's a cream off-white color. And as I filled in the stairs, now you can see where that second little kitty is. But that as far as that has gotten. I was really hoping to have this one done by the end of the year, so thank goodness I have some days off of work for Thanksgiving and 2 weeks of Christmas, right? I think there's going to be a lot of hurry up trying to get this done by the end of the year stitching done during my 2 holiday breaks. Which is fine with me. I love to stitch. Oh, that is a Dimensions kit. It will look like this. It is all finished up here. I just have this much to go on it left. And I am using the kit fabric, which is a dark blue 18 count Aida, because if I have to work on dark blue or black, I've discovered that I love that 18 count Aida because you can see the holes. It just looks really nice. And I can see it much better than on a really dark linen. And I'm using the floss that came with the kit. And it is 2 pieces of floss. That's what the pattern calls for on the Aida, on the 18 count Aida. So the coverage is really nice too. Oh, now I need a drink, of course, after I start filming. I should know better and bring a glass of water. This is Shepherd's Fold, and it looks exactly the same as last time I showed it to you. Because it's my Thursday project, and a lot of my Thursdays the last several weeks I have not had any stitching done. So it's getting neglected, which is sad because it also needs to be, I was hoping to have that one done by the end of the year. This is Words to Live by Tiny Modernist. And this was it's a mystery stitch along. This is the section that came out the 15th of October. So I'm hoping to have it done by the 15th of November when the next section comes out. And it says, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. But this is as far as I've gotten on that one. Trying to get it so it won't. There we go. And I took it off the key snaps and showed you the whole thing last time. So if you want to see the whole thing, go to the last video. I'm not going to take it off today. Next time I show it to you, that section will be done and I'll show it to you. I'll take it off and show you the whole thing. It will be done, I think January 15th will be the last section for that. You can still join. If you go to Etsy or the Tiny Modernist website, you can still join that stitch along. It started last January and it's Words to Live By, and it has a little section every month. I'm using the Called For DMC on 32 count black linen. 2 strands of floss over 2 fabric threads. And that is everything that I have worked on. It's been a very long day of work today, and I did not take the time to pull out an old finish or something I wish I was working on. Sorry. I think this is going to be the end of the video because I have stitching to do. I need to go stitch tonight. I was gone all night last night, so I need to go stitch. I hope you have a fabulous day. I appreciate each and every one of you. Flosstube and the comments you leave and all the people I have met just makes my life so much better. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.